Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about how I found out that I was overspending in certain categories and how I went about fixing it. Now, I used to always struggle to stick to a budget, but now I realize it was just because I was complicating things too much and my budget was way too complicated, too much stuff was going on. There's a good rule out there, which is just basically what gets simple gets done. And exactly what I did with my budget, all I did was just use simple Google Sheets, had a few categories and just put how much I was spending in each of those categories and how much money I had coming in, which was mainly kind of my salary. And it was actually pretty amazing, especially when you kind of build it up for a few months. And I wish it is something I'd done a lot earlier. Previously, I was trying to use all these apps and stuff that just got too complicated for me. So in this video, I show about how I found out I was overspending in certain categories and how I went about sorting it out. So, hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Simple Muslim Money, which is all about simple halal investing and personal finance for Muslims. Now, just a quick disclaimer out there, everything I say is just for entertainment and information purposes, okay? And it's not financial advice. So let's get stuck into it. Now, as I said earlier, you don't need anything complicated. Just use like a budget in Google Sheets. I super recommend that. It's all online, really easy to do. I think most people understand how, spreadsheets kind of work. You just put your numbers in there, you can add them up, all of that sort of stuff. I used to pay for these different apps out there, but I just couldn't stick to them or use them. Things just got complicated as well. I've also stopped using credit card as well, which is something we used to use before, and that's made things a lot simpler as well. Another key thing is I got a bank account with someone called Monzo in the UK, which is what we call like a challenger bank. It's one of these more kind of startup banks, and just their app and everything is just so much better than those main high street banks, which just seem so far behind. And what it does is I have my account in there. We actually have a joint account, me and my wife. And then we put the money that we want to spend on like everyday sort of things into that. And every time I spend money, so say if I go in the UK, we've got Sainsbury's, which is like a supermarket. Actually, I don't go to Sainsbury's that much. I actually go to Aldi, which is like a cheaper brand, but still very good quality. You know, whenever we go there, we put that shopping money in there and we let that money kind of go down to zero. So we can see where the money's actually going, kind of feel that money. And yeah, that's been like really good. And what Monzo does is that's really good. It just categorizes things for us automatically. And we just kind of go with the default things that Monzo does. And most of the time, it's fine. On the odd occasion, things might be a bit wrong, but that's not a big deal. It's just like little amounts. I highly recommend getting something. I think there's a few others out there. Another one's called Starling as well. I think Revolut. There's a few others. There's quite a lot of them out there, especially in the UK. And I'm sure there are in other places as well. Now, one of the things that really highlighted for me was that I was overspending more than I thought. So if you look on the screen now, in April, we had a budget for £500, but my actual spending was about 578. And in May, the budget was £600. So I decided to update, and then my spending was about roughly on par with that. So we're like a family of four. There's me, my wife, and two kids. And, we don't actually spend so much money on food. We're not buying like really extravagant steaks and what have you, and like brands and things like that. And as I said earlier, we go to Aldi, which I really recommend, Aldi and Lidl, which are doing really well in the UK. And yeah, we just kind of just get what we generally need. We don't go too crazy on it. So I think the problem in this case was that I was under budgeting. I wasn't being realistic in terms of how much money I was spending. So what I did in this case was up the budget, and it was really good for me to see that. So now going forward, if I'm spending more than £600, I kind of know, okay, something's not quite right. What's going on? Was there something that happened? Maybe it was like a birthday party, or we had an event or something like that. So potentially things like that can happen. Now the next category, and this was a big one, was shopping. So Monzo just kind of lumps a bunch of stuff into shopping, and it kind of works really well for me because it's kind of simple. So whenever we buy anything from Amazon, that kind of goes into shopping. If we buy any DIY stuff, in the UK we've got B&Q and Wix. I know around the world you've got in the US you've got like Home Depot and things like that. So we do some like DIY and stuff around the house. And here was really interesting as well. So this was like a really big one. So in April we had a budget for $350 just on general shopping, buying bits and pieces. And the actual amount I spent was £885. So, and some of that was just because of DIY and things like that. Whereas in May the budget was $350, but my actual spending was about $330. So in this case, it kind of shows that the amount I budgeted kind of seems okay. But in April, something wacky happened and we spent way too much. And then what happened was in May, we started keeping an eye on it a bit more. So now we kind of got a bit more of a better idea where the money's kind of going. We're kind of a bit more aware of it. What I want to prevent happening is for me to kind of have a shock at the end of the month. Oh, hang on, suddenly I've spent all this money. I want to kind of be more aware of it, kind of be a bit more kind of on the pulse. And yeah, one of the reasons we spent that much was I ended up buying a new barbecue from Amazon. It was on sale and it was something I've been looking at for a long time. And I love doing barbecues. It just feels good. You know, I feel like strong. You feel, you know, caveman kind of vibe going on. So yeah, that was really good. I love cooking burgers and things like that. So, and also we kind of save money by having barbecue as well. We don't go out, we just buy stuff and it's really good fun kind of vibe. So yeah, so that was really good. And the Monzo really helped in terms of kind of keeping an eye on that. And the next category is eating out. So I love to eat out generally, but our money on eating out is kind of a bit inconsistent. And this is what the budget kind of showed me. So in April, we had a budget of about £200, but we actually only spent £80. We didn't really go out that much. So we kind of, I think, getting more kind of aware of how much money we're spending. Whereas in May, we had the budget of £200, but we actually spent 266. So it seems like £200 is not a bad amount. I mean, one of the things I've noticed recently, probably restaurants in London anyway, some of them, there's a lot that are targeted towards Muslims and some of the food is not that good. They charge a lot of money. So I don't know what's happening. Some of these restaurants seem to be more geared around Instagram and things like that. So, and I guess also as well, like we're cooking more at home as well. So like, for example, a burger, I've gone to these burger places and, you know, some of the burgers are quite good, but I find like I could cook it at home and it comes out really good. Like it's just, you cook it and straight away it's ready to go. And some of these places have had really bad service as well. And one of my biggest gripes is restaurants charging for tap water. This is like crazy. It just kind of shows me that, you know, restaurants don't really care about the customers. They're just trying to make a buck out of you as much as possible. So yeah, that is one of my big pet peeves. I kind of avoid restaurants like that. And in the UK, you can charge for water if you're not serving alcohol. So obviously, if it's a restaurant that's kind of aimed at Muslims and stuff, then they don't have any alcohol. So then they start charging for water. So yeah, I find that a bit cheeky, especially if you're eating spicy food and stuff. You might need quite a lot of water. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's my kind of rant out the way. But yeah, another important lesson to me was overspending versus under budgeting. So that's something to be aware of. Sometimes it's not a case of just actually overspending. It's just that I haven't budgeted it correctly. And by having a budget, that really kind of enabled to do this. And there's a good video from You Need a Budget, which is like an app that you use for budgeting. I know I said I don't use apps for budgeting, but yeah, they've got some good content on their site. I'll make sure to link that in the description. And one of the key things that video talked about, which I really like, is that this problem of having insufficient information. So people have no idea where the money's going, where they're spending. When you do have that idea, it's like a light bulb moment. You can see where things are going. And it's not about being perfect, but just kind of the main spending where that's happening. But yeah, if I would say there's one main takeaway from this video, it just get started with Google Sheets. You know, most people have got a Google account. If not, just create one. Create a spreadsheet. What are your main money that you're spending on? Write how much you're coming in. Just keep it really simple and get going. And always remember, progress is better than perfection. You know, you just want to get started and just get going. It's one of the best things I've done with my money, and something that Dave Ramsey talks about as well. And you know, I've got a few other videos about budgets as well, so please definitely check them out on the channel. And I just want to say, yeah, thank you for watching. Really appreciate people coming and tuning in. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash that like button, as it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Assalamu alaikum.